Welcome back to Hospitality Investor News Desk, and I'm delighted to be joined by Serena Lim, Chief Growth Officer for Ascott Ltd. Serena, Ascott is a 40-year-old brand, but it's more than just a hotel company, is that right?
Indeed. So we started 41 years ago, and we started really in the serviced apartment arena, and we were also owner-operator. And along the 41 years of our history, we have acquired new brands. We have started new brands, we have acquired platforms, we have also acquired distribution systems, we have set up our own loyalty program. And so we find ourselves in a very interesting space whereby we are frontiers in the living segment and really being able to enrich global living across various asset classes like hotels, resorts, extended stay, service apartment, experience-led social living. And so it makes us really interesting from an owner and from a guest perspective because we're very holistic and we offer a wide diversification of experiences. And it allows us to become the leaders in terms of whether it's accommodation for short stay, extended stay, or long stay. So 41 years, has gone by in a flash.
Yeah.
But we've been really busy and just continuing to do what we do best, which is to be accommodation, solutions to our guests and to our owners.
So being in that vanguard of what you're calling living, which is more than just hotels, right? You've also brought some different brands here. What are some of those brands and those models that you're showcasing here at IHIF Asia, but that are out in the market and that you're representing?
Yes, so we've been always in the forefront of innovation. We were the pioneers of service apartments, and we're one of the largest service apartment operators globally. We are also pioneers in terms of co-living or experience-led social living, whereby the whole phenomena today is about social living, communities coming together, loneliness, having the ability to engage together, explore things together, community building. And so we are also the pioneers in bringing experience-led social living globally. So, we have a pretty ambitious goal with Life, which is our brand for experience-led social living, and we will achieve 150 properties by 2030. We're now at about mid-30s, both in terms of operating as well as pipeline. Now, in addition to that, we are also pushing out our brands into complementary asset classes.
Okay.
So going to more into resorts, more into branded residences, also looking at franchising. So being very busy because we are very focused in terms of creating sustainable value for all our stakeholders, and really being a accommodation provider. So where there is a need, we will go, and across a very wide, diversified portfolio with 14 brands.
Yeah.
We have been pretty busy on the growth front.
I would say so.
To be honest.
Yeah. And yesterday you co-moderated a panel on alternative accommodations, and I was in there and I was impressed by the questions, and the individuals that were in there were developers, they were investors, they were operators. And they were all sort of focused on what is the opportunity in this space. But I guess a question is, do you still consider it to be alternative, or is this really mainstream and just the industry hasn't caught up yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. I mean, I think it is mainstream. As with when service apartments and the extended stay and the long stay, it's also very mainstream.
Yeah.
It is a preferred choice. Among travelers who want space, who want, that self-contained units. And the same thing with Life. It is mainstream. And it's really interesting, in today's environment whereby it's extremely competitive, land costs are high, and we're also seeing a lot of opportunities for conversions because new build is very expensive.
Indeed.
And, it's only in certain markets that, these numbers can stack up. So conversions are real. And adaptive reuse also very real.
Yeah.
So from an investor point of view, they are looking at creative ideas to go, all right, with this space, how can I make this work? How can I be innovative about space? How can I not be fearful, about locations where it's a tight GFA or the building's a bit angular? Who can help me provide that solutions, both in terms of the operating front, the brand front, as well as the return front. The return front, and that's where Life comes in very interestingly because we like interesting spaces. Yeah. Locations. We can go into various location types depending on market demand, And I guess guests today too want a different sort of experience.
Yeah.
And they want something which is community building.
Yeah.
They want something where they can, learn and experience the local culture and be part of, the community that the property is in. They want the ability to socialize, meet people, and so lots of interest in life. Very excited about the brand. We launched it 6 years ago. The first one opened in Funan in Singapore.
Okay.
We now have 5 in Singapore.
Right?
And so it's really about growing the brand and really be able to meet the needs of our guests and be able to award them, with really heartfelt experiences in line with all our brand culture.
Yeah. Well, you just described a really a dynamic combination of consumer trends, demographics, but also then from a market perspective, conversions, adaptive reuse, investors needing to really squeeze as much out of the revenue per square foot, and then obviously lower operating costs, right? I mean, those are 3 boxes that you've just checked, which are meeting demands from the various stakeholders.
Yes.
Is that opportunity more prevalent in Asia, or do you see that opportunity global?
I think that is a global opportunity. So, Ascott, we are a global brand. We are headquartered in Singapore, and we're really focused in terms of providing and committing to long-term partnerships, building trust, and also being able to deliver sustainable growth. And this applies globally. Now, how we do that really depends. Whether it's through a different operating model, but more importantly for us, we believe that it's very critical. Number one is to have, in addition to strong brands and brands which are able to be customized in accordance to location, being very market driven, and not a quick cut, not a one size fits all sort of concept. But it's also about building really strong teams, in-market teams who know the local knowledge of the market and is empowered to make, bespoke solutions and market-driven solutions. And that's really critical because in the business that we're in, we know that hospitality, as much as it's a lovely one, a very exciting one, it's also one that goes through many different cycles. And from the owner's point of view, it's about building resilience.
Yeah.
And from a guest point of view, it's about allowing me to have the experiences that I want to, when I want to. And with our flex hybrid operating model, which is our ability to be agile and pivot between short stay, extended stay, and long stay.
In one asset?
In one asset. We are able, therefore, to pivot globally depending on the market needs. So for us as an organization, every single project is dealt with tender, loving care, right? Because it's about being very market-driven, understanding what's the target segmentation, where's demand coming from, what do our guests want, what do they need, and then creating that canvas of facilities and amenities so that our brand teams, our local teams are able to use that canvas to instill the programming and the activation to bring the brands to life. So it's very simple. Now, on top about our flex hybrid model and our local knowledge and local office setup, the other thing that we're also very focused on is that it's also a very people industry, a people-centric industry.
Absolutely.
And so we are also really focused on, tech-forward hospitality, making sure, that, whether it's, in terms of operating cost management, whether it's personalization of the guest journey, whether it's sustainability, looking at tech-forward, innovations so that our associates are able to, spend more time, doing things that matter. And also, with our Ascott Global Academy of Excellence, it's about creating that robust pipeline of talent, through leadership, programs, through upskilling programs, through training programs, so that we're able to feed our hotels to staff, that can deliver those heartfelt experiences to the properties that we open.
Yeah.
So
needed in the market.
So needed. But I think something that really draws us apart as an Asian brand is about our focus on building relationships, building long-term trust, and again, providing that long-term value, which is critical.
Yeah. And how are you working with the owners? I mean, as you said, is it an asset light model, or is it management? Is it a franchise agreement? What are the models in terms of your owner relationships?
So it is an asset light model. We have, over the last 41 years, we have spent a lot of time and effort, building brands and our ecosystem, our sales and marketing distribution and loyalty program. So it is an asset light model, and we are we like to have, conversations with owners to really determine what is the most optimal solution for them that meets their return, requirements, that also allows us to touch our guests, as well as to build, loyalty amongst our guests and our associates. So it can be through management, it can be franchising. So, from a franchise realm, we have actually done a lot of work recently propelling franchise growth in markets such as in Europe, as well as in China. And we will be also launching franchises in certain parts of Southeast Asia, as well as Japan and Korea. So we want to be, able to be solution oriented, because ultimately, our responsibility is to be able to create that trusting partnership with our owners, with our guests, and with our associates. So really being open to having really, very open and transparent conversations. And that's why we are very market driven. And we will not go to an owner to say, you have to do this. It's more like, tell us, what is your vision for your project? What's most important to you, in terms of why you're in this business, because it is a long-term business. It's not cyclical. It's not for the faint-hearted.
No, indeed.
And it's a very fun, and all of us in this industry are very passionate about it. And so we also want to do the right thing by our owners. So having conversations, so management, franchising, outsourcing solutions in terms of F&B, for example, brand optimization of the brand, but also most importantly to also work together with the owner in terms of future-proofing the asset, so that we are able to ride with the cycles of change. So one of the things that we're also very clear about is about creating spaces that are multifunctional, so that as we ride with whether it's short stay, extended stay, or long stay, we're also able to tweak the activation so that we're able to cater to the market that we're driving our returns on. So we're very focused on creating, as I said, the canvas and the multiple sort of spaces to drive that. So Live, as an example, we have a concept whereby our shared spaces, our communal spaces, are based on a very retail thinking, whereby these spaces are adaptable. So a space could be a hackathon one day, and the next day it can be transformed into a board meeting, or transformed into a night of fun, with wine, and entertainment, movie screening.
It's fascinating, and there are life properties that are currently doing this, and it's working.
It is working. And the interesting thing about Live too is that when you start thinking about social spaces, a lot of the owners will go, oh, social spaces, it's wasted spaces in terms of, is it revenue generating? But in Live, we also have a per square meter, way of looking at how we activate the spaces.
It's fascinating. I mean, I have not seen one, but I am eager to see one. I'm curious though. I mean, what you've just described is not just a pure hotel, heads and beds, right? I mean, you are absolutely bringing a different type of thinking to a built asset and to the operating environment. Is it harder to convince an existing hotel owner to convert into this new model than it is perhaps somebody that's been in housing or office? What's harder, or what's easier in terms of you educating owners that this model is actually a better model than a traditional hotel?
So I'll take the question in two parts. I think the first part is where, trying to convince an owner about our business models takes the entire organization to do that, right? It's not just about growth, it's about the entire organization. So things that we are working very hard and it's very important to our growth trajectory is about ensuring, that we have clarity, of purpose, right? We have a bold ambition, and we also have brilliant execution that is basically, not just at the senior leadership level, but it's also cascaded down throughout all levels of the organization. So our property level staff are also empowered to ensure that we are able to deliver on what we want to deliver. And so when it comes to therefore convincing owners, if the entire organization in Ascott are empowered and believe in this cause, and move together as one, to be differentiated, right, in this very competitive market, it becomes much easier. Because we are aligned, in terms of vision, we are held accountable for what we say, And we're also very clear in terms of what that purpose is. So I think that's the first part, right? It makes it easier when the entire organization moves together as one. And we're proud of the nuance and the value that we are creating, which is so differentiated in today's space of hospitality. So that's the first bucket. I think the second bucket is, in terms of how we convince owner. Now, having been owners ourselves, we know that, for an owner to make a decision to say, okay, I'm going to entrust my very important asset to a brand, they're looking for certain things, right?
Yeah.
They are probably looking for a repositioning of the asset. They're also looking, for better returns, and I'm better off. And so convincing an owner really has to be in that value creation mode. And how are we as an organization creating that value for each owner that we go and have that engagement with, right? How do we do that? And that's critical. Now, because we have brands and assets across various asset classes, if you would, whether it is a residential owner or an owner who has done multiple hotels before, we find that they want to try something new, something that's still within the hospitality industry, right? But something which allows them to understand the value creation and allows them to be differentiated, because it's all about diversification.
Yeah.
And having said that, about it becoming a mainstream choice of accommodation in the conference that we've been over the last few days, I think there's a lot of talk about guests now wanting a different experience.
No question. A lot of people talking about trying to meet those changing consumer trends and needs and wants.
Exactly, right? And they're looking for something besides a very typical hotel box, a hotel room. They're talking about loneliness, right? There's so much conversations, loneliness, wellness, so many conversations about that. And if you take a look at the trends that have patterns, it's quite significant since a couple of years ago, right? And we're seeing, for example, blended travel, right? Unfortunately, in today's world, when we play, we also are working.
Yep.
And so your blended travel, we are talking about also travel becoming a lifestyle for us. Whether it's a solo travel, couple travel, group travel, multi-generation travel, sports tourism, religious tourism,
digital nomads,
right? But it's all centered towards a single thing, which is, accept me as an individual, personalize it, and allow me to do what I want whenever I want to. Don't handcuff me in terms of what you think your brand can offer. And so for us, it's about us being able to deliver these experiences, and allowing the owner and also the guests to choose these experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really critical.
Yeah.
And we see that, having a self-contained unit, but with all the added, facilities and amenities, creates that ability for the guests to choose the experiences. And having the experience-led social living brand allows guests, who want to mingle and socialize and meet new people.
It's fascinating,
It is.
and I am just incredibly curious and excited for the opportunity, and I think we all are. I think we saw it here today. We've seen it over the last couple of days at IHIF Asia that Ascott is really unlocking a lot of the challenges, whether that be on the ownership side, on the guest side, on the utilization side. And Serena, thank you so much. We're very excited to see the continued growth and the opportunities, and wish you all the best in your development.
And thanks for having me here.
Thank you, delighted.